At my sister's wedding, her new husband started bragging about his Purple Heart and Tier 1 missions. I quietly leaned over and whispered his real discharge rank in front of his new father-in-law. My sister Tessa was marrying Blake, a guy she'd met at her job 6 months ago. He seemed nice enough, polite, worked construction, said he'd served in the army before getting out to start his civilian career. The wedding was small, just family and close friends at a country club outside town. Everything was perfect until dinner, when Blake started talking to Owen, Tessa's new father-in-law. Owen had done 2 tours in Afghanistan as a Marine, so naturally they began swapping military stories. That's when Blake started telling these incredible tales about his time as an Army Ranger. He talked about classified missions, earning a Purple Heart after getting wounded in Syria, and working with Tier 1 Special Operations units. Owen was clearly impressed, asking detailed questions about gear and tactics that Blake answered with surprising knowledge. But I noticed small things that felt wrong. Blake mentioned being stationed at Fort Liberty but called it Fort Bragg, the old name. He described weapons that didn't match his supposed service dates. When Owen asked about his unit, Blake got vague and said most missions were classified. The way he described basic training seemed too dramatic, like something from a movie. But Owen was believing every word, and Tessa looked so happy watching her new husband bond with her dad. After dinner, I stepped outside and overheard Blake on his phone in the parking lot. He was talking to someone about getting his work schedule changed, mentioning his supervisor by name. The weird part was, he sounded completely different. The confident military bearing was gone, and he was almost begging for more hours. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Something about Blake's story wasn't adding up. I found his full name on the wedding programs and started researching online. It took some digging, but I found his social media from a few years back. The posts told a completely different story. Blake had worked at a pizza place through 2019, then a gas station until 2021. No photos in uniform, no mentions of deployment, but there were posts about job applications getting rejected, and one from 2020 where he mentioned being turned away from military recruitment because of a medical issue. I found a local news article about a construction accident where Blake was quoted as a worker, with no mention of military background. The more I dug, the clearer it became that Blake had never served a day in the military. Every story he'd told Owen was completely fake. I spent the week trying to decide what to do. Tessa was so happy, and Blake treated her well. But thinking about Owen, who'd served 2 real tours, listening to Blake's fake war stories and feeling that soldier connection felt wrong on every level. The opportunity came at Tessa's birthday dinner the following week. Blake was there with Owen, and he started the military stories again, this time talking about receiving a commendation from a general whose name I'd looked up and found had died years before Blake claimed to meet him. Owen was sharing his own Afghanistan memories, completely buying into Blake's lies. I couldn't let it continue. I leaned over to Owen and whispered exactly what I'd discovered about Blake's real military record.